up, and it always is so striking to me to watch how hard women work. I watched these women who probably just came home from work themselves, and they're back there, you know, cooking and preparing the food and setting these tables. I mean, this is a lot of work to put these events together. And it just, you know, it's just amazing when you see what women do. You know, we strategize, we plan, we organize, we sell tickets, we raise money, and then we still cook and clean up in the kitchen. And I just don't think, on Equal Pay Day, I really don't think there's a job that we do that we're ever paid enough money for. You know, Equal Pay Day was first an initiative that was just now formed in 1996. That's not that long ago. That women decided that we need to make a national movement in order to draw attention that we're still fighting the same issue despite legislation that is passed at the federal level, some at the state's level. It's always on a Tuesday, and that's to demonstrate the fact that that's how far into the work week women have to work to earn the same amount of money that men do for doing the same job. So that's what the Tuesday is always symbolic. Women on average earn less than men, and they must work longer to earn that same amount of pay. You've heard all the statistics. Women who work full-time earn about 77 cents for every dollar that a man earns. And if you are a woman of color, and particularly Latino or Hispanic, you're roughly 60 to 65 cents on the dollar compared to men. So those women of color have even a greater challenge. The National Committee on Equal Pay has a website, and on the website it has a list of things you can do. I encourage you to go check that out. Each of us, it has a little list for employers, what employers can do to help level the playing field, and for us as individuals, what can we do to help this issue? And they suggest that you call and write your state legislators and to call and write your members of Congress in the House and in the Senate, to encourage them to take up equal pay legislation, and if they're not doing that, to support possibly legislation already on the books that hasn't passed, and that's the case in many, many states. But with the majority, when you make those calls, most likely the majority of the people you're going to be calling are men. There are very few women serving in elected office still today in 2012. Without enough women in elected office, women leaders in business, in healthcare, in education, in science, in law enforcement, and I could go on, are undervalued and underrepresented. We need women policymakers to make the difference. In Ohio, your General Assembly, your state legislature has 22% women. Ohio has never elected a woman governor. I believe a woman served as governor for 24 hours or something during a switchover a couple of decades ago, but no woman has ever been elected governor, and you have no women in the United States Senate. You do have about 4 or 5, I believe, women serving in the House of Representatives, but no women in the Senate. So that's the picture of where we are politically, and why it is so important for those of you working and just trying to get, make ends meet, those of us in the business world and all the other careers that are represented here tonight, is because that's the leadership. That's where it starts in this country, and that's where the policies are made that impact each and every one of us. When I first ran for city council, I was encouraged by a group of my neighbors, women, just like me. It's something I was busy working with my career, raising my family, involved in the PTA at school and other civic organizations. Would have never thought about putting myself in a political position. It just wasn't part of my thinking at all, like most women. They think it's for somebody else. Don't even think about it, too busy. So a group of neighbors encouraged me to run for city council, so I did. I thought, well, I can do this. We had gone to a city council meeting, became very frustrated by the outcome, trying to get some speed humps on our street near a school because we felt children were at risk. And we walked away from the nearly all-male city council very frustrated that they didn't listen to us. Who knows best what's going on your street? The neighbors, and with children. And the lady said, "You've got to run for city council." So I did. I got out there, worked hard, knocked on doors, put up signs, and won. Won 2 terms, did a good job, worked very hard for the community, and then was tapped to run for the Kentucky Senate. And that's a partisan race, completely different, much larger district. About 14 cities were included in this district, and got into a world I knew nothing about. I mean, I knew how to talk about my ideas, how to share, how to get people organized, but I didn't know anything about politics. And most women outside of that, unless you've grown up, maybe your dad was a judge or somebody in your family has run, most women don't really have any exposure to that on the inside and are ill-equipped. But what we need to remember is, even though we're not, you may not have that in your life, or even on your path may say, "Oh, not in a million years would I ever run," we all need to live a political life, one way or another, either as a candidate or getting involved in supporting a woman who is running, somebody who will get in there and try to make a difference and bring a little bit of parity to the whole political arena. Many of the political roundtable shows, the discussions, are they all men in suits, and maybe a token woman scattered here and there, but for the most part, when the experts come on, when the senators come on, it's generally men. So we're just not seeing, and we are a reflection of that, what we're seeing on television, and if we would see more women in office, maybe more women would think, maybe that's for me, maybe I'll get involved. I believe it's what you see and read and hear every day. There was a group of women in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, that did an amazing thing. I'm going to share that story. It's in the book here. Let me just find the page. The problem in Pittsfield was that they had one major, very big, large employer. I don't know if it was GE or somebody like that, but they shut down their plant. And little by little, the city was declining. Jobs were scarce, revenues were low, and the city council was corrupt. It was all men, mayor, council, and there was a lot of corruption, inside deals, giving jobs to their buddies, lots of that kind of stuff that unfortunately goes on. So a group of good women that lived in the city said, let's find some women to run for the next race. So they went out and looked at women in their community that they thought would make good council members, women that had led things, women that had organized and led the BPW and other organizations. And they went to them, and every time they asked, would you be interested in running for city council, they got the same response. Oh, I can't. I'm too busy. I don't have enough time. I have my kids. I have my job, and on and on. So they organized a little group called the Pittsfield WEN Group, and I'm going to read you a little bit about their story. This is a quote from one of the leaders. "We provided child care, child transportation, meal preparation, along with campaign coaching," says board member Ann Pasco. "We groomed the candidates for speeches and public appearances, along with taking care of their personal needs so they could campaign around the clock." So this group of women said, well, we heard the same story from every woman, so let's do those things for them. And they did. And they elected 4 women the first race and then more the next time, and turned their city around. They have a thriving arts district and all kinds of new ideas, that just, it's a great story. And it started with a little handful of women at their kitchen table deciding they were going to get behind some good women and help them get elected. So just, a little bit of help can go a long way. It's a very early step is to take a personal inventory of your life. Do you have, how much time can you spare? How much money? Do you have, the backup systems, the child care covered, whatever it is that your other responsibilities are, and we know there are many, can we have those covered? Take that, go through that step. I have seen women shoved into running for certain offices, not realizing how much time it would take, not realizing how much money, and then they're in there and it's too late and it kind of ends up a disaster. So it's important to just step back, go through those questions for yourself, have your discussions with your family, get all of those things lined up before you make that go decision. And finally, final words. It is just time for us to help each other as women. That's what you do in this organization. You know, you're doing some social events, you're hearing from speakers, learning, sharing, but most of all, you're supporting each other by coming together with a common mission. We need to do a better job of that. I know we've all in the workplace had the women who seem to want to undermine another woman's success. Maybe it's yours. Have you heard the saying, sometimes women are their own worst enemies? I've witnessed this. I've worked with women before that seemed like they weren't happy unless they were sticking it to another woman. But that needs to stop. We can't afford to do that anymore. We need to be there for each other and to realize that when one of us succeeds, we all succeed. If you're not ready to run yourself or think there's no way, help another woman. Find someone, mentor her, get behind her and encourage her. We need women who have demonstrated leadership, who have the ability and the attributes that we know would make great leaders for our nation. We need these women to give their time and talent to change our world. We're on the wrong track, we all know it, and we need more women to bring their style of leadership, their get-it-done priorities, and ability to work together. We may fight it out sometimes, but we will get the job done.